Morning, everybody. This is Pastor Rick with Broadman Baptist Church, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. It is a marvelous day to be a Christian, and this is the Broadman Word for Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. We're into at least meteorological spring, if not the actual calendar spring. And so we should start seeing a change in the weather, but that's up to God, right? Listen, I want to talk to you today. Today's Broadman word is I will not be ashamed. And it's from Romans 1, 16 and 17. So let me just read it to you. It says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew, then to the Gentile." And 17, For in the gospel the righteousness of God is revealed, a righteousness that is by faith from first to last. It says it is written, the righteous will live by faith. So I want to talk to you for just a second about that. I am not ashamed of the gospel. And more specifically, I will not be ashamed of the gospel. It takes on a more significant meaning and application if you step back and think about it for just a minute. Where is it in your life that you are denying the gospel, making you ashamed of it? I know that all of us who are professed believers have a relationship with God, and that is a solid relationship, but that isn't the end of what it is we're supposed to be. We are supposed to be living representatives of the gospel being good news. The good news is the love of Jesus Christ. So when we don't act that way, when we don't live that way, when we don't profess the gospel, when we don't carry out our God-given mission, then we are ashamed of the gospel, because if we weren't, we would do these things. You could also make the case that not living out your truth, the truth given to you by God, is denying the gospel. These are very serious things. I don't know that we intentionally, or any of us intentionally, deny the gospel or want to seem like we're ashamed of it. But ask yourself, how many times do you shy away from sharing the gospel? How many times are you quiet about being a Christian? How many situations are there on any given day where you see people who need to hear the gospel, or need to at least see it lived out in you, that don't, because you're afraid of what might happen, you're unsure of what to do, you don't want anything bad to happen to you, you don't want cancel culture coming down on you. Perhaps you just simply don't know what to do. These things are not acceptable. We have to know what to do. And there's great resources in the church. There's resources online. There's resources through our parent organizations, the State Baptist Convention in Ohio, and obviously the Southern Baptist Convention at large. There's all kinds of places. We have discipleship in the church. We have fellowship activities. There's all kinds of places for you to go to learn and know what to say and what to do. You have to pick up that cross, and you have to be the one to carry it. We each individually have to carry the ministry of reconciliation with us, and we have to be willing to bear that cross of that ministry, and not just survive it, thrive it. We are going to have a reckoning, and that reckoning has to include folks who are willing to share the gospel of Jesus Christ wherever they may be, through their life and living it out, through their words and speaking it out, through what it is they will and won't accept around them in people and in happenings. This is big stuff. It goes to the core of who you are. If you're not in a place where you know what words to say or what to do, you can't just rest there. You have to find out what to do and what to say. And then you need a plan to do it. If you are afraid, then there is a situation that is very dangerous because you don't have the closeness with God that would allow you to not be afraid, to understand Him in His provision and His grace and His protection at a level that would allow you to do what you need to do regardless of circumstance. Now, we have to be smart, and we have to put our seeds where they are best laid. And we don't want to be seen as offensive or arbitrary. So it takes a little bit of knowledge and it takes a little bit of skill to deliver the gospel in the ways that I've spoken about. And we do have to make a plan for it, a very intentional plan for it. The Bible tells us a story about pearls and pigs. It doesn't make any sense to put pearls on a pig, or in the political landscape of not too long ago, the famous putting lipstick on a pig. And that's not to say that anybody you run into is a pig. It's an analogy. Where you have insight, where the door might be open, or where you might be able to open the door, then have deeper and better and more fruitful conversations. And you know places where that door is slammed shut. Okay, some people are just not going to want to know the truth. But we can't make that assumption. We have to try and show the truth, live the truth, be the truth, no matter what, and then let God deal with them and decide whether He's going to call them or not. But we can't withhold our role. We can't curtail our role as God's vessel for His good news, the gospel, because we're afraid. That makes us ashamed of the gospel. We also need to understand that it's the power of God that brings salvation to everyone. Nothing you do. You're a tool. You're a way that God does this. So it's not you that needs to save anybody. It just needs to be you that allows God to use them to then create His bigger works. And we also need to understand that the gospel is the righteousness of God revealed. If you deny or withhold or curtail or in any other way hold back on the gospel, you're not showing the righteousness of God. You are denying others their need to receive the righteousness of God. And I don't think any of us want to do that. And then finally, the righteous will live by faith. We need to understand that this is a faith-based relationship. You must live based on faith through your experiences with God, built by your experiences with God, and the indwelling of the Holy Spirit, and the exercise of the gifts that you were given to do the very specific work that God needs you to do. And it is that faith that is the center of your relationship. It's where you start your day. It is what motivates you to continue on in your work. It is what sees you through difficult times. And it's what gives you peace and joy, regardless of what might be going on. Listen, brothers and sisters, this don't be ashamed of the gospel thing can be a lot more unintentional than you think. You might be demonstrating shame for the gospel. You might be denying the gospel and not even know it. Take a moment, think about the areas of your life where this can be improved, and then go about doing that. Pick up your cross and run, child. Pick up your cross and run. I love you. You have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.